Welcome to Healing into Femininity. This is the place where you are the best version of yourself, where you are wealth, love, money, attractive, where you are always chosen, where you get everything you desire. Hi, my name is Joanna Fatonji, and let's dive right in. Today, I want to talk to you about the topic of bridging the gap from poverty into wealth and the concept of wealth. Wealth is not only money, wealth is everything. Wealth is the entirety of your life experience. And that's why it is rooted in your identity. I come from a neuroscientific perspective on changing your identity, changing your concept of self, changing how you think about yourself, and therefore how you experience your reality. So, again, talking about wealth, wealth is your body, your mind, it is your experience, it is your health, it is your relationships, it is your creative expression, aka your career, and it is your money and time freedom. It is ultimately freedom, the freedom to live the life you truly desire. That is wealth. And many people are constricted in a concept of poverty, whether it is poverty in physicality, right? Not feeling vibrant, not feeling healthy, not feeling good and strong and flexible in your body, or not being able to speak your truth, which is also connected to physical health. And the same thing goes on. It's a ripple effect. If you are not feeling good about yourself, about your body, about your mind, about who you are in this body, you are going to project it out into your relationships, right? You are going to be self deprecating. You're going to feel unworthy. That's the root of everything. We're going to talk about that today. You're going to feel unworthy. You're going to feel like you don't belong to the kind of people that you actually feel a resonance with or that you want to feel a resonance with. You are going to be shy. Again, the way you see yourself is going to ripple out into your relationships, and your relationships have an impact on your creative expression. Because if you do not see yourself as the person that is able to do whatever it is that you desire to do in front of people or for people, because that's actually what business is, right? You are around people while you are performing your task. When you are in a job, you're most likely being around people, or you're going to be in some kind of relationship with people, performing your task, performing your duty, your creative expression, whatever you do. Yeah. So what you do ripples out into your relationships. And if you say you have a passion, you have a even if you have knowledge, right? If you are a coach, a consultant, a healer, a business person, an entrepreneur, you have knowledge and skills and you have assets, right? Physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, meaning your mind, right? Your knowledge, your experience, all of those things want to be expressed, and you express it to people, right? And your relationship to people and how you believe how people are going to see you affect how much you can connect and how successful you are in connecting. Because again, I spoke about this in another video. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? So you have to be a person that trusts herself in order to be trusted by others, right? That's mainly how it goes. And then through confidently, competently doing the work that you enjoy, this is how you are getting compensated. Money, and therefore you have enough money so you can also freely create your time. Good. You see how this is a spiral. I like to call this the spiral of becoming, right? It spirals the energy of you, of your self concept, spirals into relationships, spirals into your creative expression and your business. And then your business spirals into your money and your time freedom. So everything is connected when I speak about wealth. Okay, good. So, today, again, as I said, I want to speak a little bit more about bridging the gap of feeling like you don't have it, which is a lack, a poverty mindset, into shifting your identity into being the person that has it all, right? It's a shift. And if you want to give it another name, it's a decision, it's a timeline jump. Whatever word you resonate with the most, that's all the same. A shift, a switch, a timeline jump, or a decision. You decide that you are no longer going to be ruled by the lie of the chatter in your mind that you are not worthy. And as I like to say, I'm going a little bit deeper, as I like to say, that I love speaking about power, money, respect, and sex, because all of those things are at the root of the human experience. All are based in the root of the body: power, money, respect, and sex. All of that is connected to how powerful we are in this world. And activating those things are essential to stepping into our wealth identity. And again, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the concept of those things. I want you to notice, what did you think when I just mentioned power, money, respect, and sex? What are your feelings and your ideas, your reaction towards these words? Because I know that this is exactly the root of the evil. It is about how you think about those words, and therefore your ability to connect with those energies, the words, the power, your sex, your sexuality, right? And your money. And therefore your power that creates respect in the world. And especially for women, this is the thing that many women lack: the ability to own the power, to cultivate their sexual energy, cultivate their money. It is all being rooted in feeling safe in this world, feeling safe with those energies, feeling safe in your animal body. That's what it is. It's not about flying away. It's not about hiding. It's not about spiritually bypassing your physical body. Because when you take care of that physical body, you will find out that's an animal. It's an animal. You are in this animal body, but you are a spiritual being having an animal human experience. Okay? So the root of your wealth is in the root of your relationship with money, sex, power, and respect. Good? Good. This is where we are digging into. And when you are ready to shift into your wealth identity, you are ready to own your human animal desires, because wanting money is natural. Wanting to feel alive is wanting to feel turned on, connected to your sexuality. And it is also about respect, because you want to be left alone. I always like to say that the way it is. You want to be sovereign, you want to be free, you want to be able to do and try and express yourself without people interfering. This is what I call respect. Respect my boundaries. This is my life, this is my space, this is my world, this is my creation, this is my business, this is my whatever empire, this is my estate, and so on and so forth. You claim that territory, you claim that estate, that piece of land. You claim that field. You claim that authority over whatever it is that you claim that is respect, that other people respect your boundaries, and that you're able and willing to reinforce that. And again, this has to do with power and potency, sexuality. All right. So that is what we are talking about as women. It is important to own your darkness, your dark feminine energy, and that is being willing to kill. As I always like to say it, you're being willing to reinforce your boundaries, because the more you grow into your wealthiest version, this is when you need to activate those things, because people are going to be triggered by your light, by your brilliance, by your audacity, even though all of that is just simply realizing who you truly are. Shifting into your wealth identity is shifting into who you truly are. And finally, taking all parts of you with you, which is including your animal nature, your darker self, the animal that is willing and able to fight, to flight, to kill, to manipulate. That is all in us. It is in us. But over here, we speak about self mastery, right? We can't bypass those things. Being human is fundamentally evil. That's what I like to say. Is it's not necessarily evil, but it is natural. And it is, as I said, it is the evil is the ability to kill, the ability to do things that are dangerous. And what is more dangerous than killing? Nothing, right? But that's exactly the power that you own, that you have. And it's time for you to activate that. It's time for you to activate the dark feminine inside of you in order to create the most wealthy version of yourself. And the most wealthy version of yourself, again, stepping into the identity rooted in nature. That's what it's about. It's an identity rooted in natural law. You've probably heard that before, rooted in universal law. People call it universal law, and then we think about the universe. But universal law is not only the universe, universal law means it is a law that is universally applicable to everything, meaning as within, so without. That's what many people say, right? But it also means that it is applicable to everything in nature, in this universe, but not somewhere out there, but right here, right now, inside of you as you listen. As you listen, universal law is at play. And universal law means that it's about life and death. And it's about self-preservation. And it's about growth. And it's about learning how growth and manifestation function, how that works. That is ultimately stepping into your wealth identity. It's learning how universal law, spiritual law, whatever word you want to use, esoteric law functions. And that is when you step into your wealth identity connected with your natural self, not with your conditioned self, because that is where the limitation lies. The conditioned self is over here. The conditioned self is the self that you have been taught, that you have been programmed to be. Be the good girl, be well behaved, make yourself smaller, right? Appease to whoever, listen to your parents forever, stay a child forever. No, over here we're grown up. Okay, so that is what we've learned, what we've been conditioned to do, to be, to have, and ultimately the life that we will recreate from the things that have been implanted in us that we're now just automatically replaying. But no, your soul desires to be free. And that's why we break out of the good girl programming. Yes, you heard me right. The good girl programming needs to die. Good. That is the poverty consciousness, the consciousness of adapting to limitation, adapting to small minded people, adapting to, yes, social construct, social norms, depending on where you grew up and what you have experienced. This is what we need to let go of. This is more of the conditioning, right? More of what we've been taught. And that is what created your results up until now. In your wealth identity, you step into universal law, meaning you connect with the power and the laws of nature, right? Universal law, let's call it natural law. And natural law is savage law as well, right? That is at the root, as I said. At the root is the most savage. We can also paint another picture of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that is at the root is about the physiological needs, meaning food, sex, and like sleeping, and yeah, ex excrementing. Is that the right word? Like having to release yourself of the things that you've eaten and drinked. Yeah. So that is at the basic level. And yes, that is also who we are. Every one of us is a human, a, a beast, if you so like. But yeah, nobody's above that. Same thing is true with your desires for more, right? The beast, but also then this is when we become human, right? Some people call it to become gods. I also like to call it to become human, because to fully become human is to realize that you are divine within. To become human is to rise up. Your energy is not only going towards those basic impulses, right? Instant gratification. That is the basic, most uncultivated state of self. That's why, honestly, I can't respect people who are driven by that. These are people who can't control their eating habits. Yes, let's be real. These are people who can't control their eating habits. These are people who can't control their sex drive. These are people who don't have impulse control. That is at the basic level, the most uncultivated version of self. Then we go higher, and the next level is safety. And I believe that this is where creation starts thriving, right? You want to be safe. And this is for me and everything I do on this internet, on this YouTube channel, but especially in my membership, the Healing into Femininity Sanctuary. You'll find the link in the description down below. If it calls to you, is create a sanctuary, right? A safe space for highly professional women to unfold, to let loose, and to unfold and test and practice stepping and cultivating your wealth identity, right? Good. So that is my space. Yes, the safety to then grow into even more power, to grow into the next level of the hierarchy of needs, is, I think it is belonging, right? Belonging somewhere. This is definitely one of the topics that I have dealt with most of my life. Where do I belong? And I know that I belong at the top. And if you believe that you belong at the top as well, then this is your space to belong at the top, right? It's not necessarily about ethnicity, because the more we transcend, the more we realize it's not about skin color, it's not about gender, it's really about consciousness, right? So belonging needs to transcend tribe or ethnicity or gender. This is really, again, this is animal level. But we are over here, we are cultivating consciousness. And the next level is belonging. Belonging. Where do you want to belong? Definitely at the top, right? Good. The next level then is status, and realizing that you are powerful and claiming that space in society or in this world, also in the natural world. And above that is transcendence, self realization, self transcendence. And that's exactly where we are aiming at. Depending on where you are, that's where I am. And this is exactly what I'm speaking about. This is identifying wealth consciousness, that you are the awareness, the pure awareness that is creating your reality. And you realizing that is when you are actually only starting the game. Everything up until then is just kind of a little bit miserable, I think, right? Because it's rooted in poverty and limitation and fear. This is when your nervous system is constantly triggered, right? You see everything as a threat. You see other people as threats. You see money, power, beauty as threat. You see, I don't know, like so many other things. You see them as threats. And this is when you get triggered, right? When you get triggered is when your nervous system gets triggered into fight, when you feel like you have to defend yourself, right? You fight, or you flight, you freeze, you fawn. That is like a retreat, right? Flight is running home, never coming back out, right? Retreating. Fawning is manipulating, especially for women. It's like playing sweet and unthreatening. um yeah, so that's what the nervous system does when you're constantly feeling threatened. That's the ego. That is ultimately the ego, because the ego believes that it is separate from God, from love, from wealth, from money, right? Depending on how you were conditioned. And this is exactly when you turn into, yes, somebody that just lives a reactive life instead of somebody who creates, who designs their life, proactively creating your life, your outcomes, your experiences. Okay, again, switching into the wealth consciousness is switching into consciousness, to awareness itself, that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and that you are designing the life that you truly want to live without being captured or held hostage by your fears or by the old limiting story that plays in your mind. All right. So, wealth consciousness is really about training yourself more and more. Also, just like Jesus said, we have to get back into a more childlike state where we are curious, where we want to explore, where we want to see, where we are courageous, where we act and speak in alignment with the identity that we have discovered within. Again, another analogy, the kingdom of heaven is within. That is what you discover. You discover that you are pure awareness. You are the I am. You are that what you desire to have. And over here, again, as I said, we speak about wealth and we speak about luxury. We speak about money. We speak about building your six-figure blueprint, business blueprint, and beyond. If you are a professional woman who finally wants to own your wealth and to put it in a proven, repeatable, reliable structure of transforming other people's results, right? Let's find that out for you. That's exactly what I offer, is to help women to transition from poverty consciousness into wealth consciousness, from hustling, overgiving, overdoing, proving yourself, constantly seeking validation from others. All of that needs to die. And we want to shift and transform into an identity where you know that you are enough, more than enough, where you're tapped into your truth, which is wealth consciousness, and where you operate from a place of ultimate fulfillment, right? You already are fulfilled. You have the knowledge, right? You have the experience. You have every skill that can be found for the life that you truly desire to be. Now we have to just pour it, right? We have to design a structure so your dream can be manifested in reality. Yeah. So, again, wealth consciousness is ultimately about you realizing that you're pure awareness, that you are already the divine blueprint. Yeah. And we are going to create a blueprint around your expertise, because I truly believe that the kind of woman that I'm speaking to, that you have something to give. That is part of being wealthy. You are overflowing. You have a passion. And my passion is to teach these concepts. That's why I will always do it, forever do it. I love it, right? I will continue to give and give and give and give from these concepts. That's my passion. That's my purpose. That's my nature. That is like um, my syrup, my nectar, right? I am a ripe fruit and I keep on giving from my nectar and I bless other people with my sweetness. And I know that you have that in you too. You want to give something, whether it is your old profession, which I always suggest that's something beautiful that you can share because it's easy for you to give from your already accumulated wealth, right? Your experiences, your expertise, your knowledge, your education. We just want to put it in a structure and we want to turn yourself into the wealthiest version of yourself. So, as you see, the transformation, the shift, the decision, the timeline jump is always instantaneous, right? The work that we need to do, and that's why I suggest you stay here, is to stay here. That's it, to stay here, to hold it without collapsing back into being triggered, right? Being triggered and then questioning everything. No, you want to stay here. You want to be stabilized, as I like to say. And that is my container. I like to stabilize, transform, alchemize, purify, but also stabilize and support you in creating the structures, the systems that you need in order to be stable in your wealth identity. Six figures and beyond, that is definitely my promise. And I think for today, that's already it. I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say about it. Maybe you have something, some inspiration, some thoughts, some things that you feel triggered by, right? I would love to be in communication and hear what you would love me to speak about next. Because again, as I said, being wealthy means having a lot of answers. Look, and even the flies come here, right? That's how magnetic I am. Like the animals want to come, the people want to come, the money wants to come. All of those things happen when you step into your wealth identity, which is rooted in nature and natural law. Another component of stabilizing your wealth identity, knowing universal law, knowing physical law, metaphysical law. Yeah. So this is all. This is all. It's the root to the top. It's from the basics, from money, sex, and power and respect, integrating that into your divinity. That is everything. That is abundance. That is abundance. That is holding wealth. It's being able to navigate all situations and being able to never let yourself be brought out of who you realized you are. And you are abundance. So if you're ready to step into your abundance, into your wealth identity, and create from a six-figure blueprint that is proven, repeatable, reliable, and creates results, if you work it, then stay tuned. Join the membership if you feel like it. Every week we do a vision workshop, which is more for the mind. It's a wealth vision activation, which is really getting clear in the mind because the mind thinks in pictures, right? So we want to create a vision, a clear vision for the next level wealth you want to create, right? To have a vision very clear. Also, opening yourself up to dream bigger, to think bigger than your current circumstances. And then every week, we have also an embodiment ritual because both is important. I'm a specialist in the mind body connection, right? Because the mind and the body work together. It's not enough to only intellectualize things. No, you have to feel safe in your body, right? As I said again, with money, sex, and power and respect, it is all in the body. You have to feel safe with those powers to wield them. So another part that happens in the community is the ritual, right? Is the embodiment ritual, the erotic embodiment ritual to activate those juices, to activate those powers. But sometimes it is first purging, right? First purging everything that is the muck, all of the lies, all of the trauma, all of the the constrictions, right? Everything that is blocking the flow of your wealth, that is all in the body. So in our ritual, this is exactly what we are doing. It's about loosening up, releasing the muck, and tapping into the wealth energy and letting it flood your body so you actually become the embodiment, right? Because the kind of woman that I'm speaking to, I know you have the knowledge, but most of the time it lacks the embodiment. So I'm looking forward to see you either way, either in the community in the next video or everywhere we see each other. All right. So I'm looking forward to see you thrive. Whoosh.